I'm Dr. Kimberling. I'm the president of Awesome Marriage. I've been a marriage counselor for over 40 years and been married for over 50 years. I am so excited that I get the opportunity to share with you some of the things that Nancy and I have learned that have made our marriage better, and I think will make a difference for you in your marriage. You know, our family of origin has a powerful effect on each and every one of us. That was our textbook on what family is all about. We see our first models of parenting and marriage and life within that family of origin. Some of us had good or even great models, and others didn't. If you came from a home with good models, you're really blessed. In today's culture, I see many people who didn't, but have learned something really interesting. Even if your family of origin was a great model, that doesn't necessarily mean the model will work perfectly in your marriage. You know, this can cause as many problems as coming out of a bad model family. That scenario was Nancy and me. Everyone thought my family was almost perfect, and I knew if Nancy and I just laid the same template over our marriage, we could be well on our way to an awesome marriage. But it just didn't work that way. Beginning with the fact that Nancy, she wasn't my mom, and I wasn't my dad. We had to find out what worked for us, and that was going to be a different template. Over time, with a lot of work and conflict, we were able to bring some good things from each of our families of origin into our marriage, and then to see what fit and what didn't fit. So what about your family of origin, especially when it came to parenting? What worked then? Will it work now? Most importantly, can you see the value of being on the same page as parents? Let me introduce you to Kristen and Chris. Kristen was waiting for the perfect man to marry. After college, she moved back home to live with her parents. They had an amazing marriage, and in Kristen's mind, she was preparing herself for marriage because she was watching her parents, and she was learning from them. The waiting was difficult at times, especially since many of her friends married right out of college. But once she met Chris, there was no doubt in her mind that this was the man that God had for her. So Chris had relocated and shortly after joined the church where Kristen and her family were attending. They met at a singles event and they began dating really the following week. Chris was really a great guy and they really seemed to be a perfect match. Chris was from the northeast part of the United States and he grew up very different from Kristen. It wasn't bad, it was just different. Chris was from a Christian family and he held the same values that Kristen held. The difference, well, it showed up in the way the two families did life from day to day. Chris's home had more rules. It was very, very structured. He came from a home of all boys, while her family was all girls. Kristen's home was very flexible, had very few rules. The interesting thing was that each home worked for the family that lived there. Kristen and Chris each felt their family of origin was healthy and was a great model. And for the most part, they were really, really right. Chris and Kristen had 3 kids in 5 years, and the family of origin differences, they began to show up. Kristen's parents put marriage first and kids next. Chris's parents had a philosophy to put the kids first and the marriage on hold until the kids left home. The way Chris and Kristen's kids were spaced, that would put their marriage on hold for 23 years. Wow. When I saw them from counseling, they were at odds, and both were firm that their way was right. I asked them to set the kid issue aside for a time and see if we could get on the same page on what they both wanted in their marriage. Surprisingly, that was really easier than I thought it would be. They both agreed on really all of the essential things that make a marriage great. The difference was that Kristen thought they should be working on those now, while Chris, he was fine with waiting. So I guess that really wasn't just a difference. For them, it could have been a marriage breaker. So they agreed to a compromise. Chris gave some, and so did Kristen. But I didn't. I was firm that they had to put time and effort into their marriage. It wasn't everything I wanted for them, but it was a place for them to start and something that they could agree on. I also asked them to pray for God's wisdom for their marriage and wisdom for their parenting. As always, God showed up. It wasn't something miraculous, but over time, Chris began to see the value of investing in his marriage. He reaped the results, and interestingly enough, he began to see that his parents did have some real voids in their marriage. And that was a huge revelation for him. Today, Chris and Kristen, they still have some struggles, but they have much more balance than they had before. They don't have the same marriage as either of their parents. They are working on the marriage that God designed for them. And they're being the parents He's equipping them to be. Their marriage is healthier, and so are their kids. They have the security of two parents with a marriage, and they have learned to cherish. So if you're really honest with yourself, where are your blind spots? Where are your blind spots in keeping your marriage and your family in balance? What's your next step in keeping the priorities for your marriage and your family on track?